You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, Local Gold, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Accident Records, Chiro Tax Pro, Full Script, your online dispensary, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle!
Hey guys, welcome to episode 154 of Chiro Hustle, the podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had an opportunity of interviewing Dr. Patrick Porter, and if you want to know more about the brain-body connection through meditation, stay tuned. All right, so today we have Dr. Patrick Porter. It's an honor to have you today. This is Chiro Hustle episode 154. And you said you're coming in from North Carolina. We are in Colorado today. As our fashion of how we hold our interviews here with Chiro Hustle, first thing I'd like to ask you, because this is chiropractic related, tell us your chiropractic story and what got you into the chiropractic profession.
Well, this to take you back in time to 1985, we were at church, and at the end of church when they say, "Is there anybody that we need to pray for?" Well, my mother stood up, and I'm like, "What's going on? Who's sick? What's going on?" She says, "Well, I want you to pray for Patrick." And I went, "What's she praying for me about?" And then she said, "Patrick just graduated from school and he needs a job." Well, right after that, a Dr. Stan Fuco, who's a chiropractor in the congregation, came up to me and said, "Patrick, I have a position for you at our clinic if you want to join up and be my, quote, relaxologist," because he read that D.D. Palmer used to have his patients rest for an hour before they'd leave his clinic. And I didn't have them rest for an hour, but I started doing some guided imagery, relaxation, seeing the bones go back in place and visualizing and just relaxing them afterwards. And it worked really well. So, and then of course I started getting adjustments. I had a football injury, so I'm one of those lifetime members of the chiropractic family because it's helped me. And my wife, our best friends here in New Bern are a chiropractic couple. We don't have very many here. We only have 5. So you got to find those people and become friends with them, so you can hang out and do it. And he has a really good clinic here. And he actually takes care of all of our BrainTap family, because we provide that as a clinical benefit to our staff.
Let's time travel a little bit back to 85. You got into meditation and started to integrate that into the chiropractic profession. Tell us about where we are today with meditation and how you're integrating that into the chiropractic world.
Right. Well, now we know. It used to be people thought of meditation or prayer as something, kind of mystical and hairy-fairy, or, we call it cosmic foo-foo maybe, where they don't really understand it. But now we know the science that we actually change our genetics based on our relaxation response and the thoughts that we think and the people we hang around with. So what we're finding with the chiropractic world is that also when I met even a guy named Richard Barwell, he's with NeuroInfinity, and through Carl Parker. And so we started to organize the science around what chiropractors do. And we came to realize that what chiropractors do is a very quick way. There's 2 ways to reset the brain. You can do it physically with a chiropractic adjustment. In fact, we're now so big in the biohacking world that I speak with David Asprey and his platform every year and just teach people about it because it's a hack. But the first one that I always tell them, one of the slides I have, is they need to go get a C1 adjustment. Because in order to turn on the nervous system, you can be doing all this great nutrition. You can be doing all of this exercise. But if the signal coming from the main processor down to all of the different parts of the body isn't connected, you're going to struggle. I mean, it might eventually work itself out, but the quickest, fastest biohack for anybody out there, when you hear about this, is go get an adjustment, go find somebody who can do a cranial adjustment. And then we got involved with people with like cranial release technique, because we're working a lot with concussions in chiropractic. Life University gives every person who comes through their concussion protocol a BrainTap to go home with. So we do a lot with Life University and Parker College and places like that are working with concussion care, because once the brain gets activated, and the chiropractors are necessary because we can't do that. We can't move the bone. We can't adjust the C1 just with a thought. There might be some powerful people out there, and I'm sure that Jesus could do it, 2,000 years ago, but we're not able to do that. So the chiropractor is very important for what we do. Even in India, we have Ames University, which we do a lot of work with, the American Institute of Medical Sciences. It's probably the most researched in meditation in the world. They have the BrainTap, and they also have our HRV system that we use. And I introduced them to chiropractic. They didn't even know about it. They were telling them, what would you do for this? And I keep telling them about chiropractic. But in India, you'd be amazed, with 1.3 billion people, they hardly have any chiropractors. And so they're now doing a research project. We're just helping them formulate that. I'm not a chiropractor, but I've done a lot with Heidi Havoc over the years, and traveled around Sweden with her and Robert Melillo, and which was nice. I became a primitive reflex practitioner, even though I don't really do that. But when I came home, I did that with everybody just to find out what was going on. But there's such a great connection here, because I believe that chiropractors are really neurologists. Because when you adjust the body, we can show it now with science that you're adjusting the brain. And when you adjust the brain, and you can get that to hold longer, when you combine these two, the chiropractor makes the physical adjustment, which is necessary. Now we've got the brain firing and wiring around that. That's something called neuroplasticity. When we do that, we have a change that is more apt to be permanent. Nothing's permanent in the nervous system. Every 72 hours, it's going to try to revert back to whatever that person's physiological norm is. So I think together, it's a 1-2 punch that really is powerful for the end user, in this case, the patient.
Well, you mentioned quite a few people within that response that you've had some impact with, including colleges, and knowing that chiropractic is more of a brain game rather than a pain game.
That's right.
And how it's linking to neuroplasticity and regeneration of cell. I think that's something a lot of people right now are still, like you said, woo-woo, mystified, yes. That like the body's actually healing itself. And one of the famous chiropractic quotes is, the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. So when you talk about clearing out a C1 and allowing the neurology to flow again, that's it's a major step forward for people in their healing process. I didn't prep you for this question, but I think it's pertinent to what we're discussing right now. When somebody, like in chiropractic right now, I don't know if you know like the era of like what's happening, but there's a couple different factions. And one of the factions is saying that chiropractors can't go out there publicly and say that chiropractic is making a direct influence on the immune system. And then the other side of the chiropractic profession saying, hey, go look at Grey's Anatomy. Go look at the studies that have been done by the medical system and the medical doctors and the people that have created how the nervous system's connected to the immune system, how it's connected to the organ system, how all that's channeled from the spinal cord. And the healthier the spinal cord is, the healthier the nervous system, the stronger the immune system. So it's an argument that's kind of being posed right now, and people are saying you can't make those claims. Do you have any input on what I mentioned?
Yeah, in our profession, we call it psychoimmunology. So there's a direct correlation between your thoughts and emotions and your immune system. Well, all that information travels along the spine, which we call the keyboard to the brain. So if you don't work the keyboard, the brain's not going to get the information. You could be doing all of the greatest work. That's why I've said you got to clear out these things and get the signals firing. What we know is that when you do a chiropractic adjustment, if you could see it on an EEG, it would blow the minds of most chiropractors. Because what happens is, it's just like, I tell people, it's kind of like the old operating systems. When you had a problem with your Microsoft computer, you just reboot it. And then it would just reset itself. That's literally what the chiropractic adjustment is doing. It's resetting. And actually, you could see it just open up all the channels. Pain only happens, you're talking about, it's not a pain game. Pain only happens in beta. So that's the wide awake state where we're talking right now. When you do the chiropractic adjustment, we're getting gamma burst. Gamma bursts are really important to keeping the brain functioning, and especially with dementia and things like that. But there's a burst. It's like across the whole spectrum. It's like a tuning fork. When you hit the tuning fork and everything resonates, that resonancy that happens with the adjustment, and it kind of works up the spine, however you do that. And that's why some people can't take multiple adjustments. Their nervous system, you're just running so much energy through the system, they blow circuits. But if some people need a light touch, like maybe a core specific or something like that, rather than, a force adjustment, but the old hit them high, hit them low, hit them in the middle, let them go. that's changed now because we can measure the brain, and knowing where the brain problems are, you can measure the spine and find out that there's a direct correlation, and vice versa. And then that affects not only your immune system, but we have technology in we have a BrainTap HRV. It's really called data pulse analysis, which we can measure the energy across the body. And we can show with a chiropractic adjustment that basically what we do with BrainTap, you do it with chiropractic adjustment, the physiological effects are almost identical, except we can't target an area like you can. And so your immune system, we even show your metabolism increases with adjustment. So chiropractors should actually be able to say, you want to lose weight? Come and see me, because we proved it. We proved that you can increase metabolism. We proved that you triggered the pineal gland, just like people want to do when they meditate or relax and get the full brain working, because you're sending a burst of energy. And that gamma burst, what it's doing, we met with the Lu Tai, who's the researcher at MIT. You've met Nicholas. He knows the guy who runs the brain lab there. So we got a meeting with her, and what they're proving is that gamma breaks down amyloid plaque. Well, we need this plaque because we have inflammation in the brain. So it's basically protecting us. It's laying down this. It's just like if in our bloodstream we might have cholesterol. Cholesterol is needed in the body. When you clear it out, you have a lot of problems, right? So, but you need to clear it out naturally. So gamma breaks that up in the brain so we can get that neurological functioning happening. So imagine every time you get an adjustment, you're sending this healing energy up through the brain, basically resetting the nervous system in the brain. 70% of the nervous system is in the brain, not in the body, but you're sending the signals back and forth, of course. And if those signals aren't there, like Heidi Havoc's research shows, a lot of back pain isn't really pain in the back, it's perceptual. The brain thinks in space and time differently than the body, so they don't have that relationship. So when you make the connection with the brain and the body, all these things change, and your immune system is going to naturally light up. If you're just like if you were to say, hey, if I was a Hollywood producer and I said, hey, Jim or Luke, I want you to play the role of a depressed person, the physiology you'd have to take. It wouldn't be where you're sitting right now, not sitting back and, proper physiology. As soon as you adjust that physiology, it's almost impossible to feel bad. So every time you're getting that chiropractic adjustment, adjusting your posture and learning these different stretches or whatever the chiropractor is teaching them, it's directly affecting, there's no disconnect in any part of the body is what I'm saying. So people try to say it's not anything you do is affecting the nervous system. When you turn on CNN, you're affecting your nervous system. So turn it off. Go get your news, turn it off, and then go back. I tell people there is a cure for being too happy. Just turn on the news. Just turn on, look, I don't know too many people that are consumed with the news that are very positive people. We need positive people. Your psychology directly affects your physiology, and your physiology directly influences your psychology. And that is your immune system.
And really what you're saying here, Patrick, is that we have a brain-body connection, and that the immune system is definitely influenced by the nervous system, and that chiropractors are now more integrated to practice with more specificity. Mm-hmm. And when they're making a direct contact and adjustment to the body, they're clearing out the neurology to where it can heal and boost immunity. And that has the same effect as either being in beta or gamma wave.
Right. It's going to increase all brain waves. And then what happens is over the 72 hours, the brain settles into what is the norm. So you're always adjust. That's why the intensity at first, we found, just like chiropractors, when we first see somebody 3 times a week for concussion care is what's needed, because the time and duration. If you go longer than that, the change didn't hold enough to get the next bump, because it's always trying to go back. But as soon as you break through that barrier, that's why a lot of clients think, oh, I'm out of pain, I don't need my chiropractor anymore. This is probably preaching to the choir here, but the pain is the last thing to show up and the first thing to leave. And there's a whole lot of work to do after that. So we like to teach people, when you talk about brain function, and the biggest fear in the world right now, that's why chiropractors, if they work on brain function, they're going to have an endless supply of patients. We're all getting better looking and more intelligent with age. And we have one fear. The big fear now is not public speaking. The biggest fear in the world is that I'm going to get old. I'm not going to remember who I am. I'm going to be a burden to my family. Well, we know with chiropractic care and with all the other things you're talking about, like meditation, relaxation, BrainTap, we can it's a lot easier to weather the storm when you've already battened up the hatches and your body is functioning better than wait to the emergency and then try to fix everything. That's what most people are doing, unfortunately.
So during this time of crisis, when people might be watching a little too much news and eating like crap and, stuck in their house, do you have any tips you can provide our listeners that could keep their psychology in check during what's happening?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and this is what I probably do 3 interviews a day for news outlets right now because of what we do at BrainTap. And what I'm telling people is take that hour. Most people are being given 45 minutes to an hour of time that they didn't have before. They used to drive to work. So what can you do to improve your life? If you set just an hour goal, maybe it's to read the Bible, maybe it's to read something positive, maybe it's to stretch and get exercise. Whatever it is for you, do something that's going to enrich your life. Because right now you should be thinking of yourself like the caterpillar that crawled into the cocoon. That chrysalis is breaking down. All the systems are breaking down around us. But are we going to emerge a moth or are we going to emerge a monarch butterfly? We want to emerge a monarch butterfly, because we are going to be changed and we can be stronger for it, or we can blame the environment, we can blame the situation. And of course, turn off the news. In the morning, get your news, whatever you need, figure out what it is. I get mine from my wife because she's more inclined to read it. And then I get the short digested version. And then I have to push her off the news because she's a very analytical person and I'm more of a right brain creative person. I don't want my creativity, like that. I'd rather go do something positive. But I think get out moving. Our bodies are designed to move and breathe. And that's one of the big reasons we like chiropractic. And what we do is we actually recommend that people learn one of 3 things once they work with our doctors. They either have to go do ballroom dancing, or we want them to do Tai Chi, some kind of body movement and breathing. And they do yoga, stretching and breathing, because we know the nervous system, once you do the adjustment, just doing that one adjustment is going to do great wonders for people, but it's not going to once you get the adjustment, now you're out of pain. Now you can start moving the spine, getting the nervous system responding, getting that going. And we even have sessions in BrainTap that are called SMR sessions. That's called sensory motor rhythm. This is where directly chiropractic influences more than any other brainwave. That's the brainwave between alpha, our creativity, and beta, our reactionary mind. It's our cognition. As we age, this is the brainwave that atrophies. So think about this brainwave as it's the worker bee for the brain that gets our memories and then constructs them. Our memories aren't held in one place. So if they can do something that's positive, they keep engaging the brain. Get up and get dressed. Even if you're not leaving your house, get up, get dressed like you're going somewhere. Make today something special. If you dwell in, the brain is very good at taking up time, and it loves when people go, oh, well, I'm binging out on Netflix. Well, that's because the brain doesn't have to do anything. And even though it seems counterintuitive, the brain is always looking for shortcuts. It uses 25% of the energy of the system. So if it can take a break, guess what? It's going to take a break. I have a plan. I have a deal with my son and my grandkids. If I'm going to go get them for the day, no TV before I get there. They act totally different, even if they get 20 minutes of TV in the morning, because the TV has a certain frequency response. It's operating at 10 hertz frequency. That's alpha. And what are they being programmed to think about? Depending upon the shows, there's a lot of good stuff on TV, and a lot of inspiration. But look at the shows that are popular. You go to Netflix, and you see Pandemic, all these crazy shows. Those you want to delete. Look for something. Your humor right now is so important. We've got to build up our immunity through our laughter. There's a lot of science behind that. So, find something positive that the family can watch that's fun and get you all laughing and, moving and breathing. Because when you're fearful, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you have depression, all of these have one thing in common. You don't breathe. You don't move. Just look at somebody who's angry. They're not moving. They're holding their breath. They're and if you tell them to breathe at that point, they get angry, right? So if you ever had, I remember Eli, my grandson, got all mad, and just as an experiment, I was telling Sophie, I said, watch. And I said, just breathe. And he gets all angry. I said, no, you got to do this internally. You've got to prepare for that breath before. You've got to prepare for those things. One of my favorite sayings that I coach with my people is, you get what you rehearse in life, not what you intend. So if you don't plan your day first thing, like doing a 10-minute little meditation or relaxation, we call them digital coffee. So people can tune in, turn on, and tune out the world and plan their day. And that's so important.
Well, one of the things I want to touch on with you've delivered so much great content and information. You communicate like I do. You have so much awesome stuff to share that it just innately comes out of you. And a stream of consciousness, if you will. You remind me of how Jack Kerouac would write. And you could probably write a whole scroll in a day with that right brain of yours. But one of the things that you touched on early in the conversation was about concussions and about physiology with depression and about holding people's posture differently and how it has a direct impact. And then we got into how people watch programming, how it has a direct impact. I think that, they always say that your eyes are the windows, and what you see is what you assimilate. And if you see somebody like this in the chiropractic space, we call that nursing home posture. And as we develop as a culture, we now know that as digital dementia. Because if you took this little thing that people hold on to and they keep inside of their hands, now they're shutting down their vital lung capacity. Now they're shutting down any communication to them. They have blinders on to the society around them. They have blinders on to what their perceptions are. They basically close down the world around them for their own little time zone and their time bubble there. And their physiology changes. But that's not the real point I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to the point of you talking about how people that are going through concussion protocols are getting healthy with chiropractic and with meditation. You said something about a 72-hour bubble where people are actually seeing change. What happens if people don't continue?
Well, they might get a little bit of the change just with what little help they got, but the body, everyone has their own physiological norm. It's not good or bad. It just is. That's why you're trying to reset that, right? When you're doing the chiropractic adjustment. So if they don't do it, there's a good chance it's going to slip back. It's kind of like I tell people that when they ask me, do I have to do this the rest of my life? I said, you have to do something like this the rest of your life, because it's like brushing your teeth. If you want to keep your teeth, what do? You got to brush them. So the same thing's true with getting a chiropractic adjustment, doing a brain tapping session, reading positive material. If you're not in control of your education, your information flow, your body's ability to improve, then someone else or something else is going to exert its power over you. You're going to start thinking and believing mainstream media maybe because you're not doing your own research. You're not doing and the biggest research we have, you can never lose when you invest in yourself. So I think every time, I got to go away, I got to go down to the chiropractor's office, get my adjustment, and for me, that's a little bit of a hassle, but I know if I don't, it's going to affect my performance. And I'm a high performer. So I want my high performance body and my high performance brain tuned up, working together. That's what chiropractic does. I always start my day with doing a brain tapping session. Of course, not just because I own the company, but I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. My dad led meditation groups, and I learned it from Father Fitzgerald and Sister Teresa. They were the ones that trained us. There's something called the Silva method. And so that helped my dad become alcohol free. So I know that for me, it's like my inoculation against the stresses of today. Stress happens to every one of us. We have, and all the stresses about as chiropractors, whether it be environmental or, internal or external stresses, all of these stresses, how is our body regulating those? How are we moving between the parasympathetic, sympathetic, neurohormonal system? If these three systems are all working together, I call this Tai Chi for the mind. So we're going to be stressed out. If somebody tells you they never get stressed, then they don't live. You're going to get stressed. There's going to be something happen. Maybe the computer isn't working right, or, you got to go get something. So how do you handle that? The body's designed to have this stress, get rid of this stress. And those people that never get stressed, I feel sorry for them because they're going to die early. Heart rate variability is so important, and we measure that through the stress response. So in part of what's happening is we're waking people's nervous system up. It also locks up. And that's why when a chiropractor says, I've been doing everything with this person, I'm not getting any movement. Well, they might not have any energy in the system. So that's why we have to do the supplementations and other things like we do, by adding in light therapy, things like that, something else, just to give them the energy so that we can, once you get the body working properly, it's really working together as a cohesive unit. So I think that it all works together. There's no separation of what works and what doesn't work. The thing is that if they go right back to their old behaviors and habits, guess what? They're going to get exactly what they got. We can actually measure it, Jim. It's in our tool. We actually, when somebody stops therapy early, we set them up with a free revisit in 30 days. We call them up. We say, it's time for your revisit. No cost to you. We put them on our digital software, this data pulse analysis. We measure their nervous system. And 99% of the time, when they didn't follow through with the plan we advised them, they've backslid about 20%. We keep people in therapy in our centers until they're 80% neurological function. And we don't tell them that. We show them that through science. And it basically uses GSR, galvanic skin response. It measures the nervous system, feeds back the information. Every part of nature. When Tesla said, if you really want to know about healing and really bringing the body back to balance, you have to work on frequencies. So those frequencies come in light, sound, and vibration, and that's what we use. And you can measure all of those things now. So we could tell you how your metabolism is working right now. Now, it's not going to tell you how it works over time because we would have to do it different, but right now, this slice in time. So it's really nice when you're telling somebody that. A lot of people have this attitude about what I do in psychology or what a chiropractor does in their adjustments, that it's just a con to get them to keep coming in over and over again. But when you show them through science, it's not me telling them anymore. You can use simple, you don't have to use our HRV. You can use any HRV you might have. If you do a pre and post with a chiropractic adjustment, those chiropractors out there that have Nerve Express or any of those other ones, they're going to be amazed. That would be the biggest selling tool. And then if somebody doesn't stay in treatment, whatever your tools are. Now, when you do kinesiology, although I really believe in it, I think it's a great study, it looks like a magic trick, unfortunately. And I do believe it's true because you can validate it with science. But when you show them with science, people, it's really weird. People don't believe me, and I have a double PhD, but they'll believe the piece of equipment. And I can tell just by looking at somebody pretty much, what's going on with them. Just like you can probably tell if they come in, their physiology is all out of whack. Hey, let me do these adjustments. You're going to feel great. But then pretty soon that feeling great is going to be their normal. And they're going to say, well, I don't need you anymore. And they don't realize that this assembly of 75 trillion cells is always combating the stresses of reality, from gravity to EMF to your thinking to the food you're consuming. I mean, there's so many transactions going on in an information space that we're being thrown off balance all the time. And our nervous system is always trying to keep us in balance. So that's why we tell people this is a lifetime commitment. Your health is a lifetime commitment. That's why I love and why we work with chiropractors when you guys talk about the chiropractic lifestyle, because really it's the wellness lifestyle. Everybody should be doing it. Everyone should be getting a chiropractic adjustment. I mean, unless they live under a rock or something, if you have a spine and you have a brain, you need to get them connected. Just like, what do we do with our cars? We get our oil changed, because we know that it runs out. Our nervous system is always being ground into the dirt. And if we don't tune it up, turn it on, and transform our situation, then we're going to atrophy. That's one of the laws of thermodynamics. Our body's going to atrophy, and we're not going to survive.
And the people that live under rocks, they need it more.
Yes, right.
So
it seems like the ones that need it the most are the ones that resist it the most. It's crazy.
earlier you mentioned, I don't remember if this was on the interview or in our pre-chat, but you mentioned you were giving away a free 30-day trial to BrainTap.
Yeah, if they go to gobraintapping.com, very simple, There's no credit card necessary. Fill it out. There's no fee. It's 30 days. You get to try these out. If we recommend you start off with the wake up bundles that will have you waking up in the morning. And then we have ones if you're having trouble sleeping. 1 in 3 people are not sleeping well. And we know that this combination of chiropractic and BrainTap is like a miracle. We know both work separately, but if you really want to supercharge the system, you use them together. And that's why we partner with so many chiropractors. So our partners out there, we have 2,300 clinics, and they're giving away this app to all of their members. We started doing it on social media. And of course, it's great that we get it out here. And so anybody out there, you can share that link with as many people as you want. There's no fee. We don't ask for a credit card. Just go ahead and try it. See what you think about it. Start recharging. And you do this now. If you really want to supercharge it, use the headset, which is a little bit different. But this you can use with just your own earbuds, and you're going to get the binaural beats, the isochronic tones, the frequency response. Our body has a frequency. It's a 293 hertz frequency. When we hear it, Dr. Nogier, who did iridology, he showed that our brain and our bones relax. We hold an energy. In fact, now with all of this grounding that's out there, we've shown, if you came to one of our booths now, we have a grounding station where we can show you as an individual are always collecting energy because we're so insulated from the earth. We're supposed to be grounding all the time because we're walking barefoot. So you need this time to ground that energy, and we hold this energy. And if we don't have a way to discharge it, and that's what meditation does and relaxation techniques, you're going to discharge that energy. There's a lot of great ways to do it. And, we have one way that we think is very effective. And it gives the doctors who are involved with us also a way to, they gift that to their patients all the time. So they get that help. They don't have to pay for it unless they want to continue on after that time.
So this urges me to ask you, in the world of wellness and health and the chiropractic lifestyle and meditation and, moving the body like you suggested earlier, limiting the stressors of mental impulse that you bring in on a daily basis, why isn't this more mainstream? And what do we have to do as a culture to turn that sharp corner to get what you're talking about and what we stand for to become more well accepted? You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, Local Gold, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Accident Records, Chiro Tax Pro, Full Script, your online dispensary, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Well, I think it's happening now because social media, now it used to be, when you see somebody, you just adjusted them, people don't go, wow, I noticed your spine is so straight. That's really nice. They don't do that, right? When you get your hair cut, people will comment unless you have the hairdo I do. So, people will say something. So it's kind of hard. But now people are recognizing, hey, when you're not healthy, people are speaking up. Instead of saying, you can either take a pill or you can take responsibility. So we want people to take responsibility. Unfortunately, up till what's happening now, and now they're trying to push that agenda through, it's never going to happen from an outside source. It's going to happen from an internal source. Innate is going to do this. We all have this connection, and there's so much evidence in there that we're all connected. So I think there's a critical number, and with social media sharing, and I think if doctors right now, still to this day, I know you help a lot of doctors with their marketing and that, but it's incredible to me that most of our doctors don't even have websites. So how is somebody going to find them today? You should put up a simple website that talks about what you do, not showing a spine, but showing a brain. Because right now, when you go to the grocery store, how many brains do you see on the covers of magazines? They're everywhere. And we're getting, unfortunately, an older population. We all know, hey, we've got to do something about our brain. And then once they make that link to chiropractor and brain, they will be so busy, they will never look back.
Well, Patrick, the brain's the last frontier.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already built everywhere we can on the earth. Now they want to build on our minds.
Right. Well, most chiropractors don't even know. There are pictures online you can see where D.D. Palmer actually had an electroencephalograph. He was doing this back then. It looks like a Frankenstein experiment. In fact, I'll send them off to you once we're done. I have the pictures because I show them in my presentations. He was doing exactly like what Dr. Barwell does now and other chiropractors using, neurological instruments. He was using it way back then. He was trying to create. I think if he was still alive, if he didn't pass away, chiropractors would definitely be neurologists today.
So where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years or so?
Well, I think it's going to be the go-to first thing. I mean, here, most people, unfortunately, they go do the most crazy thing. Like, I need a second opinion. So I'm going to go, somebody's going to cut me open. I'm going to go to another guy that cuts me open. And they both have Porsche payments. So what are they going to say? You're not going to say, oh, no, you don't need this surgery. That's ridiculous. They're going to say, yeah, I agree with them. You need this surgery. Why don't you do I think what's going to happen, because it's going to break our system. You can't just go do the surgery. This is an affordable way. And the only side effect is you feel better. So the worst thing that can happen is nothing. It's not like when you have a chiropractic commercial, you don't have to have 30 seconds of the commercial and 1 minute of the negative side effects. I mean, if there's something that's going to happen negatively to you in 99.9999999 whatever percent of the cases, nothing. So give it a shot. And I think more doctors are realizing, especially if some people think in this time of turmoil, they're trying to socialize our medicine. They're breaking our hospitals. Think of all the independent hospitals out there that are not going to make it through this. They're not doing anything right now.
Well, they're trying to do the same thing with independent chiropractors.
Right.
I think it's a real big step in the right direction that they're telling chiropractors that you're necessary for the health industry right now. I mean, they're telling so many people that they can't practice. There's some states that they're telling people that they're non-essential as chiropractors. I think that telling any doctor right now that they're non-essential is a huge blemish on society. And I think that we have to say that anybody that is in the health and wellness arena, those people should be working. They should be working overtime. They should be they shouldn't be saying, go get a vaccine. They should be saying, go see your chiropractor and bring your whole family to the chiropractor and learn these methods of meditation, learn these methods of staying away from what I call the television, the box God. Stay away from the box God and allow your body to chill out. But right now, I think anybody that's on the medical arena should be saying, let's support the chiropractic profession because these people are least invasive. They can help people. They can teach people about eating right, about correct exercise, about stretching the body like you were mentioning earlier, the Tai Chi for the brain, whatever it is. We need to support the people that are natural healers and move away from this medical tyranny which people are being put into right now. And it's basically saying, hey, if you don't get this, you're going to die. And look at everybody dying around you. What, you're not dying yet? Right. That's what we're being forced into. But now we have this group of healers. As you know, you said you have 30,000 of them in your network, and they still believe in the same thing that the other doctors believe in, which is do no harm.
Right.
But now we're being told that licensed healers that have gone through 7 years of education, that they're not okay to go to work and practice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. When you look at vaccines, $900 million has been paid out by the vaccine board. You can't sue them the normal way, but you can take your claims, and they have a limit of $250,000 per claim. But there's been $900 million paid out. Now, I don't think there's been that much paid out in chiropractic claims. I know that, thank God, knock on wood, we've never been sued. The worst thing that happened with BrainTap is you fall asleep, so you have a good nap, so they need to be looking at, I think what's going to happen is the tide's turning because people are sick and tired of getting the runaround. I mean, we're the only country in the world that gets to promote medicine on TV. It's terrible.
The box God.
Yeah. And so what the pharmacy has figured out is we'll inform the public on what this can do. And they're using all of the mind manipulation techniques, like playing beautiful music, upbeat scenes on the TV. So your senses, they call it a synesthesia in psychology, where you're having overlapping senses. So when you next time you get an opportunity to watch a drug commercial, you'll see as soon as they start talking about the negative side effects of it, the music changes. The scenes change. It's all beautiful things, but their talking is in a monotone nothingness that's telling you all the things that are going to go wrong with your body. And I mean, if people were really smart, would they really do those things? I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? That's the risk you're taking. Go do something natural. So I think by 20 years, I would hope it happens before then, because as the medical community just crumbles. Right now, most people don't know this, 63% of all money, I'm saying all money made in the medical industry, is made by the pharmaceutical company. 63%. Doctors are starving, but the pharmaceutical company is thriving because look at this. They create a vaccine. It creates a problem. Now they got a lifetime member of the Medicine for Life Club. So we need to change that.
Well, the other part of that is there's no money in health. There's only money in sickness. And there's a paradigm shift, what we see right now, where we either cause medical tyranny, where we tell people they're not allowed to travel, they're not allowed to have jobs, they're not allowed if they don't follow the broken paradigm, so they can instill sickness and disease into their family for years to come. Or they can go to the health and wellness side of this and say, nope, I rebuke anything you say to me. I don't believe in what you guys say. I have a mind of my own. I have free will. I live in a free country still to some degree. And you guys can't tell me what to do or how to do it, because you know what? I make my own decisions. You know what? I'm going to go back to work too, by the way. And I think that we're at that, like the house of cards is tumbling. And they have to try this massive approach of control. If not, the people are going to start waking up, because as you know, there's 3 levels of that. There's asleep, there's aware, and there's awake. And right now we're having a great awakening, because now we're getting to know ourselves better. We're getting to know the people that we spend time with better. We're getting to know what it is to slow down and to look at the things that we've collected. Like we start saying, wow, who am I? What am I doing? And what's next? Well, I'm not going to watch that anymore. And I'm not going to even participate with that paradigm anymore, because that is a false paradigm. And I really think that as a natural healer, through the mind and body connection, there's got to be a tipping point for us. And there has to be like a clarity, like a decisive clarity moment. And I don't know what that is, because I'm not Nostradamus. I don't have the ability to predict the future. But I do think that if people started using chiropractic, utilizing the services, and we got away from, hey, you got in a car crash, you need a chiropractor. Hey, you got headaches, you need a chiropractor. And say, hey, you want more vitality? You want to have better behaved children? You want to have a better quality of long-term life where you don't depend on drugs or surgery? Hey, this is for you. But they're not offering that solution in mainstream media. They're not saying, hey, you're having a tough time with this COVID, go get vitamin C and go for a walk. They're saying, no, put a face mask on, don't smile at your neighbor, and stay away from people. Well, isolation, as you know, is probably one of the worst diseases on the planet. Like anybody that's isolated, that's why they imprison people, because you've done wrong to society and you don't belong in society. So now they're telling the common person that you're not going to go to work. You got all these problems. You're going to watch this crap programming. And now, by the way, you have to line up for this new thing and lose all of your rights in the process.
Right. Yeah. What's going to happen, exactly what you're saying, is that we need to have people like this podcast shared, liked, spread the word, and think about, in every city, there's someone like you that's got a message, got a meeting, but they're sitting on their butts right now thinking, oh no, it's the end of the world. Get out there. This is the time to start your podcast. Start communicating with your tribe. Keep them alive and healthy. Tell them to, if only 5 to 10% of the people use chiropractic, that's a sin right there. And the sin is on the chiropractors. They need to figure out the message, and the message is wellness, just like what you're saying, and get your people to say the message. Because, there are card carrying, flag waving, chiropractic fans like me, but there's a lot more that are just on the fence that don't know. So give them a way to do that. As you don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to come out with Chiro Hustle and be the #1 podcast, but you could get out to your group on a weekly basis, sharing really valuable information in short bites, 5 to 10 minutes, that gives them the tip of the day to boost your immune system or do whatever. Or if you can't say that, just say, hey, keep your physiology operating at peak performance. Come up with some way that you can say it.
Or simply repurpose our content.
Yes, exactly.
And find other sources that are creating good, valuable content and resource it and repurpose it. Because I think that that's what Associated Presses do. When they don't have enough good content for their news outlet, what they do is they borrow good content from other sources. So I think that that's something, as a journalistic approach, people could definitely start to watch what we're doing, emulate it, start, like you said, there's never been a greater time to become a chiropractic podcaster than today. And I think that that's a message that we need to ring loud and proud. And as I've gone to so many chiropractic seminars, they always say there's never been a greater time to be a chiropractor. Well, there's never been a greater time to be a chiropractor and become an advocate right now than what you're saying is we have to become more effective with the tools that we have available to us. Steve Jobs said it the best. You have the tools, now go use them. And podcasting is nothing, it's nothing new. It's ham radio. Like it's just in 2020, like it's a new concept that we just repurposed. We've taken the radio frequency. Actually, BJ Palmer was one of the innovators in modern day radio.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he started a WOC radio station, which stood for either World of Chiropractic or Wonders of Chiropractic. And it was the largest signal from the Mississippi River from I think 10 states or something. But he started the radio station so he could disseminate information about chiropractic.
That's awesome. I get chills on that. I mean, you have your tribe. They're scared. They need the voice of reason. They need to be told, if you keep your body functioning at peak efficiency, maybe you get it, but you just live through it like these athletes. I mean, these four athletes in the LA, when they tested the LA team there, they said there were four of them. They're like, I don't feel anything. It's like, that's because 50% of us have it anyway. So don't be so scared about it. We all have cancer cells in our body too, but we don't stop communicating with each other because our immune system is going to eat those up. The problem now is fear will actually overproduce white marker cells, which then becomes an autoimmune problem because your body turns against itself. And unfortunately, I think when you're talking about connection, we now know in psychology that a lot of addictions, a lot of the negative behaviors we have out there are because we don't have connection. We don't have connection with people. We don't have connection with our source. I don't care what religion you are, but you need to have some driving, some northern star that guides you, that's positive. If not, like you said, the TV gods are going to take over and they're going to tell you what to think, how to think, what to do. And the reality is that we all have a choice to make this the best day, not only to be a chiropractor, but just to be. There's no better time than right now. If we can listen to the doomsday people, or we can say, hey, make this the best day ever.
So, on the topic of connecting with people, what are some of your favorite marketing strategies?
Well, we mentioned one of them, getting out there and doing the podcast. And now with what's going on, I would say create some kind of fan groups on Facebook. Our private site for BrainTap, we communicate all the time with our doctors there. It's a really great way to give them new information, give them information we wouldn't have. That's a really good way. And I think that the other marketing strategy that we have is that share your successes. I think one thing that could change chiropractic in a heartbeat is if the 30 to 40,000 active chiropractors every week committed to having one of their successful patients do a video testimonial, posting it on something like Sotellus. That's the platform we use. If you haven't seen Sotellus.com, it's awesome. We use it through our doctors network, and they're out of Phoenix. But what they do is when you can do it right from your own phone as a doctor, or you can send them a link. And they get a star rating. And if it's a 4 or 5 star rating, then it automatically gets posted to wherever you want it posted. But it is actually indexed by Google. So now when somebody goes to look for chiropractors in your area, you're going to have 10 to 15, 20 testimonials. And there's a pretty good chance, we call it sphere of influence advertising. So there's a good chance that somebody's going to know one of those people. And they're probably only going to listen to 3 or 4 of them. And they're going to go, wow, this guy helps everybody, or this gal helps everybody. But video is believable. Audio, is a little bit okay if it's in their voice. Written, people don't believe it anymore. And if it's not there's a difference between a testimonial and getting this rating through Sutellus. So it's just like Yelp. A Yelp has more power than me just going on and saying something about that restaurant, because Google indexes it differently. And right now, unfortunately, we live in how is somebody finding us today? There's no yellow pages, or there is, but who looks at them? They're going to go to the internet and say, hey, I'm in pain or whatever because of all the search terms. And then what comes up is going to be, before anything else, before any of your competition, will be those ratings, those star ratings. And you can have them, you can also send them out a link, say, give me a 5-star rating on Google. You can do that, but most people won't do that. So Sutellus has made it really easy. That's one of my favorites. And I think just telling the story. What are you doing today as a chiropractor? What makes your life worth living that you want to share? You know, like with me, if you're around me long enough, you're going to experience all the different light therapies that we have. That's just the way it's going to be. If you're my best friend, you're going to get everything. You know, you should treat every client like that, every patient like that. Why do you want to keep it to yourself? Because when you're doing the adjustments, and that some people get in that business mode and they're just adjusting and they forget about the education mode. That's what social media is about. So you don't have to do it out to the whole world. Do it, get your own page going, or set up your own. If you don't want to do it through Google and all those, you can, there are, you got to be kind of tech savvy though. I'm not so much. So I just use the tools that are out there. Like you were using YouTube, start a YouTube channel, tell your own story. And it should be a story worth telling. If not, change your story, watch more of these videos, watch more of these podcasts from Chiro Hustle, and figure out how to make your life something interesting, because people are buying you more than they are chiropractic. And I do believe that your energy, who you show up as, is just as important as what you do with that person. So, you know, you want to show up as the real deal, you know, and people will come to you.
On the topic of education and media, what kind of things do you listen to and read? And what are some of your hobbies? How do you spend your free time?
Okay. Well, at least once a week, I read a new book. Usually it's in my field, you know, something to do with psychology or helping people, just because right now, I believe there's somebody out there creating something that will make my stuff obsolete. So I need to keep educating, learning, and growing. My dad told me a long time ago, if you stop learning and growing, you start to rot. So, you know, I want to keep learning and growing. Those are my hobbies. Actually, before I got into this, I was working for a group called the Arizona Health Council, doing DUIs and working with suicidal teens. That's not a lot of fun, but somebody has to do it. But so I would do what we're doing now on the side, and then I started making enough money on my side job that I quit the other. But I have a boat here in New Bern. We live in they call it the Twin Rivers. So I can look out and see the river out my window here. I can get on my boat, go down the river. I'm not a really good fisherman, but my grandson likes to cast. So get out and doing that, playing with the grandkids, playing sports. I'm a real sports advocate. So getting out, getting my body going. You're given a chance, I'm going to be outside doing something rather than being inside, if possible.
So what are some other social media or website links you can give people if they wanted to get their 30-day free trial or see more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, we have an Instagram account that's BrainTap Tech, and it's also a Facebook account, BrainTap Tech. And then I have my own, Dr. Patrick Porter, on both of those sites. And what's nice is when I do our BrainTap podcast, we usually do them Facebook Live at the same time. So I'm going to look into what you were talking about, how you do it here, because that sounds like an even better way. But we get it out there. So typically we bring business tips to not only chiropractors, because I do a lot with energy medicine practitioners, Reiki people, massage people, you know, because of my influence with Quantum University, we do a lot with, you know, alternative health. It's even more fringe than chiropractic, you know, so we bring those kind of things to them. And I think that if they want to see me on LinkedIn, they just put my name in there. I have a pretty good LinkedIn following too, but we bring a lot of experts that can help you in the business field. Because when I had my franchise company, my average clinic made about $1.6 million, and that was in 2001, last time I ran the clinics. And so I think getting patients is the easiest thing. We ran our clinic with 66% referrals. We had 77 referring physicians to our clinic, and we teach people how to do that. I think if The biggest thing is communication. If I was a chiropractor today, and so I would ask them, who's your medical doctor? I would send that medical doctor monthly a report, not trying to sell them. Because one thing, my brother-in-law is a medical doctor, and he said they will never read a sales pitch. But if you put on the outside of the envelope patient information, they have to put that in the patient's file. Then, as you tell them about the chiropractic story through 1 or 2 sentences a month, that doctor starts to get curious. And then what we do is we say, hey, we've been sending you some information. We have a free doctor's night over here at, Jim's Chiropractic. I'd like to invite you over, show you what we have. And you'd be surprised. We would get between 70 and 140 referrals every month from our doctors, medical doctors. Chiropractors are given, they do it really well. But for my business, doctors will refer because they can't do what you do. There's no competition. They don't get results. They're into sickness care. You're into wellness care. And what will happen is they're going to get that person that they can't help. Then they're going to come to you and you're going to tell them a story about how they went through the chiropractic experience, 1 sentence at a time. Don't give them more than 2 sentences in a letter. Just something really on your letterhead. You're going to find that medical doctors are going to wake up. That's one of the ways you're going to turn the tide, by the way, because they want to see the proof. And they know Betty. They know Joe. They know Steve. And by the way, they're going to come in and they go, I noticed you're going to that chiropractor. What do you think? They're going to start selling for you. If you do that, that's $1 million tip right there. And the doctors of ours that do it, they make a lot of money. Well, it help a lot of people.
The beautiful thing about that, Patrick, is that the chiropractic profession is poised for this. Most of them are sitting around with 50% decline in client base right now. And they're saying, all I want to do is give, love, and serve. All I want to do is give, love, and serve. I have belief systems. I have a science, a philosophy, and an art that I stand upon. I have the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. I have 2 hands that heal people. I just want to take care of people. But I think a lot of times when chiropractor becomes that healer, we expect them to become business person. We expect them to become marketer. We expect them to become communicator. And I think that it's a hard road to hoe to get somebody to be able to be, as you talk about in on a sports team, to be somebody that's multidimensional. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a chiropractor is one-dimensional. They're a healer. Now we want them to be multidimensional as a marketer, as a video person, as a social media agent, all these different hats that they have to wear. And really what they want to do is just take care of people. So if we can find a more simple way for them to integrate with the medical community and to have those referrals come in, it's brilliant. But here's the other thing, is those doctors that are being blackballed from practicing real medical practice, those people are the ones that need chiropractic the most. So maybe we should invite them to come in and just get an adjustment and have a meet and greet to where that they can start building a relationship with the chiropractor to where that person can now build that link. And it doesn't have to be something that you browbeat them with monthly mailers. It could be something that, hey, I noticed that you're in the same community with me. I noticed that you probably have people that you would like to maybe co-manage together. I don't know, but I think that the people that are like in the trench, as we call it, those people need care more than anybody.
Right. There was a group that I just spoke with before this all happened with this virus in Dallas. It was called the GLIA conference. And GLIA cells are those that they basically make relationships in our brain. So the conference was called GLIA because there were medical doctors there, chiropractors there. Of course, we were there, psychologists were there. And they were talking about how can we all coexist? Because nowadays we need to be doing that. And that's what I think is going to happen when you ask that, what's in 20 years? I think chiropractor is going to be right there. Right now, it's like the chiropractors are bringing in the medical doctors, but eventually the medical doctors will be bringing in the chiropractors because you're going to see the results.
I always tell people this too, Patrick, like if somebody's in the hospital and they were to get adjusted after like a trauma surgery, hell, they're going to heal quicker.
Exactly.
Like if somebody were meditating and prayer and like having a chiropractic adjustment while they're in a trauma situation, most of the reason people really like chiropractic, Patrick, it's not because they think it's going to make them feel better. It's because they're being touched by somebody that can help them.
Exactly.
Like it's the healing touch. Most people go through their whole day and nobody touches them. So if
And
they've had like,
now, yeah, especially now.
yeah, but if they've had a mental concern or a physical concern, and now they have somebody that says, hey, I'm going to help talk to you. I'm going to find what's going on. I'm going to tell you how I can help you. And if you like me, I'll take care of you. Pretty simple. And then they put their healing hands on them, administer the adjustment, and now we've changed somebody's life because now somebody else is saying, I'm going to refer you in now. What'd you say the other part of the business was referrals. So if somebody's feeling good, now they're going to say, hey, neighbor, hey, office employee worker dude, hey, we're all going to go see the chiropractor because this guy helped me. And that's what you said. There's more value in a testimonial that's on video or in person than somebody just saying, hey, this chiropractor's good.
Right. If you came into one of my franchises, which was called Positive Changes at the time, you would sit down at the television. We had 18 hours of 3-minute testimonials. 18 hours. People would come in for a year and never see the same testimonials. That's what played on our television.
That's awesome.
We had a wall that said, I know you want to ask, do we get results? We put anybody up there at first that gave us a testimonial for the city. But then as we started getting those city superstars, like the person that owns the bank, or that the big guy at the bank, or that owns a company in town, or is a sports team, we started putting them up there. People go up there and read that wall. They can't ask anymore, does this work? You should have a results environment. That's key. So many times I walk into a chiropractor's office for the first time and I go, wow, I didn't know they had time machines. But I just walked into the 1970s. They still have their shag carpeting on the floor. They got the earth tone wall paint, and they haven't really woke up, and because they're kinesthetic, they're more into the feelings, which is fine. That's when you're talking about they don't know what they are. I took training with Michael Gerber. He actually trained me before we did our franchise, and we used the E-Myth program. So I think any doctor that thinks that, hey, I'm just the technician, I don't do all these things well, that's a really good book for them to read. E-Myth, that going back to Luke, one of your questions, that would be a good book right now to start looking at, because it teaches you, if you're not that marketer, if you're not that person, maybe you got to bring that person in, or tough it out. When you first start a business, obviously you're everything in the janitor as well. So you got to do it all, but hopefully you start making a business instead of, a lot of people out there, a lot of chiropractors, unfortunately, have a job right now. I'm saying, how ridiculous is that? You should do what you love, like you're saying, do the adjustment. But a chiropractor could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars without ever putting their hands on somebody, but building a community and services that are wellness-based that make them the go-to person. They're going to become, like a lot of our doctors, are the main line for that person's medical care. But if you just do adjustments, which is great, you're limiting your scope of practice, because you can leverage your doctorate and bring other professionals in, or add different services like what we have, like BrainTap or something like that. You can add these services that fit into the chiropractic story they're going to go somewhere to get them. Why don't they get them from that chiropractor? A medical doctor, when I talk, the difference between talking to a medical doctor and a chiropractor is this. When I talk to a chiropractor, they go, I see so many people a day, blah, blah, blah. I only work Monday through Thursdays and I make this much money. Well, congratulations. Who's paying your rent the other 3 days? So a medical doctor will say, I make $240 a month off that square foot. They know exactly how much money every square foot of their office is making. A chiropractor has no idea how their office is generating money because they think they're the commodity. No, you're the beacon of hope. You should have solutions that fit into your model in that office so you can employ the community to start making this lifestyle change. And if you're using the services or products at home, but you're not offering them to your patients, shame on you. You need to offer those same products and services in your clinic. Tell them your story. Live your story, because then people are going to gravitate to you. It's like metal shavings being drawn to a magnet. You've got to be the magnetic attractor because of your message, your passion, your story. Don't keep it under a bushel barrel, especially right now.
Well, Patrick, we're coming up on the edge of our time together today. I know you have an anniversary to go celebrate.
Yes.
I do thank you for being our guest today. It's been very expansive for us to have you on our program. I know there's a lot of value that you provide to us, and I just look forward to fostering a greater friendship with you as time continues. And I'd like to come out there and jump on that boat with you and take a little tour and throw a couple lines in the water and see if we can catch something with your grandson.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anytime, we're here. Well, we can't fly right now, right? Or whatever's going on. But when our new normal happens and everybody's healthier, we'll get through it.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, okay?
Yep, you too.
All right, bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.